All right, 8th graders, I wanted to take some time to talk about the windmills that I'm making for the Windmill Challenge. There's two scenarios. One scenario is you have to have a windmill, has to transfer power at 90 degrees, and the input and the output have to be equal. And this was the windmill from my first video. I made some changes to it so that it would be true to scenario A, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it. And then I'm going to talk about the windmill that I created for scenario B. Now, I got a little hand crank on the back there to kind of actuate it, but the hand crank is not truly the input. What the input truly is the blade. On the handout it calls it the sail. I call it the blade of the windmill. That is the input, and the output that it creates has to be equal. So I put the hand crank on it to illustrate. I'll try not to get it to hit my camera. I also added a universal joint so that the output is more visible when I have the windmill actuated. There, maybe I can get a better view of it there. It's kind of hard to get it to fit in my camera. I used two setups for the sprocket and chain. One of them is to go the height of the tower. Your tower has to have a little bit of height for the blade to clear the mechanism and to clear the base. But the other thing I have up here is I'm going to call it a basket. And one of the reasons that's up there is to provide more support for the drive shaft. Otherwise, the drive shaft is going to be too flexible. So I wanted to make sure that there was plenty of room to support the drive shaft. It's not perfect. I can still see it's wobbling around a little bit in there. So that could be improved. So this one meets scenario A. It's got input and output gears that are the same diameter. It's got two setups to help transfer power at 90 degrees. So input and output are the same. For scenario B, you have to make a windmill that has a higher input speed than output speed. And when you have a windmill that has a higher input speed than output speed, that means we are increasing torque. See if I can get that in there so that we can kind of see what's going on here. This windmill that I have, if we can kind of look down on it, it has a little bit of a chain drive up towards the top of the basket for the input. And I could have made this windmill without the chain drive, but I'll show you why the chain drive was necessary. For the mechanism that I used to transfer power, I used a bevel gear. It's kind of hard to get it in there so you can see it better, but there's a large bevel gear here on the outside. There's a smaller one on the inside. And so that is changing speed and torque, but to get it to transfer again at 90 degrees, I have another bevel gear set up down towards the bottom of the tower. And since they are geared proportionally, my input and my output would be the same. So I had to do something that would change the speed. I was trying to reduce speed, increase torque. And so what I have towards the front of the basket is I have a very small input gear. It's a sprocket for a chain and sprocket. I have a very small sprocket, and it's going to a larger sprocket, and in turn, that slows down the whole windmill operation. So in the back here, down towards the bottom, I have this output gear, and it's probably going to be a little hard to see. Off camera there, if I start spinning the windmill, you'll see that that little sprocket there that I have down there for visual purposes, you can see how slow it's moving. And you can really see this up here with the bevel gear. If you watch this bevel gear up towards the top of the tower versus the sprocket down towards the bottom, you can see that the bevel gear is traveling much quicker there. So, what I have two mechanisms, chain and sprocket. I have bevel gears on my tower. The bevel gears are what is transferring the power at 90 degrees. The chain and sprocket is what I'm using to meet scenario B, where we're increasing torque, decreasing speed. So that's just another example there. There's many more, and I'll probably keep on working on those or modifying these and sharing them while we're working on this unit. So you see, if I grab the output and turn it, the speed is increased. But you can also hear the gears slipping. So that's an example. If we're reversing the flow of power, it's going to speed things up. So, hopefully you're getting somewhere on these. You need to make sure that you're starting these at the very latest by Wednesday. Many groups are getting through their mechanisms, and they're ready to move on. So until next time, good luck.